So you've taken up cycling, got to a decent level of fitness, enjoying your rides, but maybe finding it a struggle to always find a motivation to get to the next step. In my opinion, the best move you can make is to join a local cycling club. I've known people in the same situation who didn't even consider this because they thought clubs are for racers and competitions, and they're wrong. So here's my take on why, if you're in this place, you should not hesitate to join a local club. In my own transition from lethargic blob to cycling hobbyists, joining a local club was the best thing I ever did. So, before I talk through the benefits, let me address two barriers that often stop the average cyclist from doing this. Firstly, how do I join? Where do I find these clubs? What's the process? Your first port of call should be searching a database. You can find a comprehensive list on the British Cycling website. You don't need to be a member of British Cycling to search the list, but I'd highly recommend you join. The benefits are great and they're on their site. Most clubs will be affiliated to British Cycling and thus enjoying the benefits that they get, including public liability insurance for club activities. Here's just a section of a search 15-mile radius from my home, so there's plenty to choose from. You can look through each one, see what they do, where they meet, etc. Be sure you're clear, though, what you want out of it. There may be a clue in the name, but the ones that have racing in the name, it doesn't mean they exclusively exist for that purpose, but it may be a large part of what they do. Others, like the one I joined, Ambleside Velo, are specifically a social cycling club. Once you've decided which one you'd like to try, they often have a Facebook page which you can access to get a more up-to-date feel about what's currently going on, have a look at the interaction between members, etc. It'll more than likely be a private group, but asking to join the group as a possible new member will definitely get you in. The second barrier to push aside is a concern that you won't be fit enough or quick enough. You know, everybody's bound to be quicker than me type of thing. This kind of doubt and uncertainty is probably the main reason many of you would hesitate to make the move. I felt exactly the same before joining. I knew the rides ranged from 30 to 50 miles and I'd done rides of that nature, but I was afraid of embarrassing myself by holding people up I didn't even know. You probably recognise this. The reality is most clubs have a policy of no one gets left behind, but you still don't want to be the one they're always waiting for, do you? They will advertise the approximate average speed that they ride at over the distance, so do a ride of similar length, aiming at a similar average speed on your own to take that element of doubt away. Bear in mind as well that riding in a group is actually easier because of the drafting effect. So if your solo efforts hit the mark, you will find it even easier in a group. Certainly, my club allows potential new members to come along for a couple of rides without even committing to joining, to see if it's for you. So make sure you take advantage of this and find out that it's a good fit before parting with any cash. Quite possibly you're used to certain well-ridden routes that you habitually churn out week in, week out. Suddenly, as a club member, there's a whole list of planned, tried and tested routes you can go on without the hassle and time needed to research and plan these yourself. Not only that, by joining my club, I was amazed at the dense network of fantastic cafes within riding distance of my home that I never knew existed. And as a consequence of that, a whole new world of wonderful cake. And of course, we all know, don't we? It's not cake anymore anyway, it's ECF. Benefit number 2, an extension of your social circle. Now, come on, admit it. There are times when you're regaling stories of your cycling exploits, the minute detail of your Strava stats, or the latest bike accessory that you absolutely need. You've noticed in your peripheral vision, eyes are glazing over, attention is waning, and the subject is being quickly changed. And if you haven't noticed this, you're more obsessed and blinkered about this cycling lark than you realise, because I assure you it's happening. Before you start to feel self-conscious and feeling the weight of being labelled a cycling bore, fear not, join a cycling club. Just think, there are people out there who actually do listen, who will want to hear about your Strava PBs and your squeaky bottom bracket, and may actually ask you about them. One of the biggest things that feeds a successful friendship is shared interests and experiences. And in joining a cycling club, I can honestly say I call them all friends, and I get my fix of cycling banter and discussing the minute detail, thus rescuing my other friends and family from having to fail miserably at feigning interest. And apart from catching up whilst riding or at cafe stops, most clubs will have a monthly social night where you can guess what the main topic of conversation will be. So, number 3. We've established so far that they're a friendly bunch and actually interested in what you're interested in. What you're also gaining is years of, well, no, decades of cycling experience. I was learning from Ride 1 when I joined the club. I'd never cycled in a group before, and I was nervous of being close to wheels, to the front and the back and the side all at the same time. Plenty of advice and assurance came very quickly. I've improved on bike maintenance through this well of experience, clothing choices, climbing techniques, the list goes on. The years of experience in a club is well earned. Some of these guys have been cycling all their lives, and their lives the other plus factor here, inspiration. In our club there are quite a few in their 70s and a small number still cycling in their 80s. Larry in particular stood out very early on. In his early 80s now, fitter than me, knocking out way more miles than I would ever do in a week in all weather. After cycling with the likes of Larry, you're inspired to leave your lardy days well and truly behind. And for someone who only took up cycling in his late 50s like me, I was never again going to utter the words, "I'm too old for this cycling lark." Number 4, no more solo cycling. Well, unless you choose to, of course. Clubs generally have set days of the week for club rides. For ours it's Sunday, Tuesday and Friday, but that doesn't always fit into your plans for things going on in your life. Using the Facebook club page or WhatsApp or whatever, you'll now have a large group of people, all at a similar level, all knowing the same routes, and all living close by. So you shouldn't need to cycle solo on a non-club ride day. I didn't even know my good friend Phil 3 years ago, but got to know him through the club, and we ended up doing Land's End to John O'Groats last year together, which made an incredible experience even more enjoyable. So number 5, racing competitions and events. It's not my thing, but if it's your thing, of course it's a great reason to join a club. For some, racing gives them that competitive buzz that they need in order to push themselves physically. Competitions and racings generally in the UK are organised by clubs affiliated to British Cycling. So a club provides the opening for that. Races aren't just for established racers, by the way. Many people do it just to improve on their own previous time. So your cycling level and experience is actually irrelevant. Like I said, it's not my thing, but I do enjoy the atmosphere and vibe at events like Sportives. And you're more likely to hear about these and have somebody you know to ride with on them if you're in the club. Reason number 6, buying and selling. Every cyclist at some stage has some piece of equipment they never use or something they need. It's not unusual to see this kind of thing on the club Facebook page, including bikes for sale. Buying a second-hand bike from a fellow member seems like an easy transaction. Someone you trust, hopefully. And let's face it, you're not going to be sold a dummy by somebody you see every week. And right now, with all the shortages of bike parts and bikes, it's good to have a local source where you know it's been looked after. Number 7, motivation to get off the sofa. The main reason for joining a club is the best way of speeding up a step change in your fitness, stamina and cycling ability. Quite simply, you're more likely to get off your backside and actually go for a ride instead of lying in bed under the duvet convincing yourself not to bother this morning. We've all been there, haven't we? Once you commit to a ride, a club ride or with one of your cycling buddies, it's just less likely that you'll let cycling lethargy take over and you'll actually go. It's easier to push new boundaries. There'll always be somebody in the club who's done longer rides than you, for example, and before you know it, you've got the company and the impetus to have a go at longer rides. Things like winter cycling were a ridiculous notion for me before I joined the club, but club rides are all year round, and along with closing advice from the group, this fair weather cycling wimp is now out pedalling all year round. Well, unless there's ice about, and well, also not if it's pouring with rain. So I'm not exactly an all-weather cyclist, but you get what I mean. Number 8, safety in numbers. This is particularly topical at the time of filming with the upcoming changes in the highway code. I do have a video about that very thing, so if you're interested in seeing what that's about, why not subscribe to the channel and get to see that and other cycling-based content. Now, there are definitely newish cyclists among you who hesitate going out, as you haven't yet developed a decent level of confidence on the open road. Well, riding with a club combats those fears effectively and helps build that confidence. A compact group of 6 to 8 cyclists definitely makes motorists see the group as a slower moving vehicle, and you're obviously going to be harder to miss. Well, visibly, of course, hopefully easier to miss physically. Anyway, 6 to 8 pairs of eyes spotting hazards like potholes in the roads, and the regular group shouts of "car back" makes you feel safer. My pal Phil, mentioned earlier, is currently recovering from serious pelvic injuries after an incident with a car late last year. And in fact, this was after a club group ride, when he was on his own riding through town on the way home. It just makes you think. So, get well soon, Phil, and see you on a ride soon, buddy. Having mechanical breakdowns when riding solo might leave you stranded in the middle of nowhere, so that's also a safety concern. Mechanicals are easier when you're accompanied in a group. Everyone mucks in to get you back on the ride. There's always somebody with better knowledge than you about the problem or better tools in their saddlebag. Which brings me on to the next benefit. Number 9, mechanical support. Chances are that some of the club members have been cycling for decades and are used to fixing and even building their own bikes. Possibly, as is in the case with us, there may even be a mechanic amongst the bike members. So we're not just talking about getting help when you're having a mechanical problem on a club ride. With the wealth of experience at your disposal, you'll soon pick up tips and be doing more of the simple routine maintenance yourself, if you're not doing that already, including stuff you didn't even know existed. Although a squeaky bottom bracket is still a mystery to me. And with anything more than routine, the chances are someone in the club will be able to help. We have a couple of guys in our club who are mechanics and really know their stuff. Finally, another great thing about joining a club is that it makes cycling a cheap hobby. What nonsense, I hear you say. Well, yes, the cost of a decent road bike continues to rise, and we all know how often we need another one. But I'm talking about once you have the required equipment and the cost of joining a club compared to clubs for other sports. So take golf, for example. golf is still expensive to get kitted out properly. And once you're fully kitted out, every year you're either paying extortionate yearly membership fees of £1,000 or more, or green fees of £20 to £100 every time you play. The monthly subscription for joining a gym can be off-putting, entrance to a swimming pool if you take up swimming, etc, etc. I pay £20 a year for my club fee. I get around half of that back anyway, like things on a pre-Christmas ride where the club paid for our breakfast. The roads are free to ride on, and I've already told you how much value I get for the money. Once I'm kitted up, apart from maintenance, it's relatively cost-free. I've just got to stop needing those new bikes. So, I'm hoping that some of you watching this will have had some myth and mystery about cycling clubs taken away. If you love cycling and want to get better, fitter, faster, or just enjoy it more in a fantastic social environment with like-minded people, then don't hesitate to join a local club. Thanks for watching this video. I'm new to this YouTube lark and want to carry on making cycling-based content. It would really help to grow the channel greatly if you would click on the thumbs up button below, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel and comment below, even if you talk about cake. So, see you soon. Have fun cycling and enjoy your ECF. Bye for now.